Oh my God. Okay, guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon. We're going to talk about the utter state of the American comic book industry, the Western comic book industry, North America, direct market. That's what we're talking about. We talk a lot on this channel about how some businesses are anti-business, anti-sales. I talk about help and anti-help, kind of like, Bizarro Superman, Reverse Flash, right? The comic book industry is anti-sales. It's anti-business. It's anti-consumer. And comic book professionals prove this almost daily, and we're starting to see it now. We're starting to see what happens when you chase off your audience. Valiant Comics cutting back to one title a month, Oni Press apparently laying people off. It looks like they're getting ready to fold. Marvel and DC canceling titles like crazy. Lots of creators out there on Twitter complaining about the lack of jobs, about the decline in income. I mean, we have people that were, and I'm not going to name names, but we have people that were bragging about their Hollywood deals just 2 years ago, basically begging for change on the street corner today. Things are changing rapidly, and I'm telling you, it's not all of comics, it's not all comics, it's not all creators, but a good majority of the more visible, vocal ones on Twitter are actively chasing away consumers, actively making business decisions that chase away consumers. And, they say shit like this on Twitter. I saw this last night. This is what prompted the video. Eric Larson, who is one of the co-founders of Image Comics, which is, I think, the #3 publisher behind Marvel and DC now. And, disclaimer, I like Eric Larson's work. I was a big fan of his Spider-Man run back in the day in early Savage Dragon before he got really freaking weird. Posted this on Twitter, and it's gotten so bad that his peers are actually like, what is going on? What is going on? Eric Larson puts up, Donald Trump being executed for treason on the White House lawn is the closure America needs to start the healing process. Yeah, he publicly tweeted that. No, there were no repercussions. I think he took the tweet down, but Valerie Durazio, I think it's pronounced Durazio, who was an editor, I believe, writer for Marvel DC, worked at MTV, has been in the circle, I guess, the inner circle of comics for quite a while now, is even like, how is this remotely okay? How is this remotely mainstream comics? It's a damn good question. Eric Larson, a co-founder of Image, is still a very visible figure at Image Comics. I don't recall what his title is off the top of my head, but he is still a pretty big deal over at Image, and nobody batted an eyelash. And if you ask that question, how is this okay, on Twitter, you're going to get blacklisted, you're going to get banned, you're going to get blocked by comic book professionals. I know because it happened to me. I've said many, many times, I consider myself a moderate liberal. Politics never were part of the equation when, I started working in comics. It was like you could either do the job or you couldn't do the job. And I noticed a shift back in 2013, 2014, that things became weirder and weirder. Things became more and more political. Creators that were pretty normal people, up until the 2016 election, people that I tabled next to at conventions, whatever, they started to lose their shit, and you would go to their Twitter profiles and you're like, I know this person. Why is this person saying crazy stuff? Everybody's losing their shit. Now, I have a theory that we're going to see a lot more of these kinds of tweets. And it's not necessarily because these creatives are so distraught about the current state of the American government. And, you can have your own political opinions, whatever. I mean, I still can't believe you would post something like that publicly. Twitter's not going to do anything about it because probably a lot of people at Twitter agree with them. You know what I'm saying? But I think a lot of it is they're starting to feel the pinch. They're starting to realize that, the comic book industry is not in a good place. There was an article on CBR, and I got all kinds of blowback from this. So weird. I posted it from Comic Book Resources in February, and they basically said that comics as an art form are fine, but superhero comics, mainstream comics, are not fine. They're on the decline. Manga is artificially inflating the comic book sales numbers because they just roll manga into Western sales, and then all the pundits are like, look, comics have had their best year ever. It's like, yeah, because manga is exploding right now. Manga and graphic novel sales are fine. Monthly comics, floppy comics, not so good. Superhero comics, definitely not so good. When you're changing all the characters, you're actively chasing away audiences. I mean, why are they doing whatever the hell they're doing in X-Men right now when they could get John Byrne to come back, or Chris Claremont, even though it was problematic, and they could actually give people X-Men that would sell gangbusters to normies? They don't want that. They want Tumblr fan fiction. So we're going to talk about the utter state of comics. Before I get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. Guys, over 274,000 subs. Thank you so much for the support. Speaking of support and speaking of comics, we're going to be launching Crimson Ren Volume 1 very, very soon. This has been in the works for about a total of about 8 or 10 years. The art has been worked on for the last year or so. Jose Garcia is doing the art. The overall story is by Geeky. Geeky and myself wrote the script for this, and this is the canonical prequel to Shadowbinders. This is actually how Crimson Ren became Crimson Ren as a kid. And it is an adventure in the vein of the Goonies, Spielbergian danger. Kids actually are threatened, not that we want kids to be threatened, but there's no threat in kids' entertainment these days. These kids are actually up against some stuff, and it's kind of a throwback to the 1980s. Hopefully you guys like it. Hopefully you like it. So sign up to get notified. Yeah, I about fell out of my chair last night, but I'm not surprised. Eric Larson, he was supposed to have left Twitter. I guess he left Twitter, and then he came back when it turned out that Elon Musk wasn't buying it, or he's trying to get out of buying it. But again, what is getting me is I'm seeing more and more of the more normal people in comics are starting to call out this behavior. And this is really what everybody has been calling out for on YouTube, has been calling out for like 4 or 5 years. Now, we can argue whether or not some YouTubers' hot takes started to intermingle too many politics from the other side into their opinions. We could debate about that, right? But the point here is that, yeah, there are a lot of very salty, very angry people with no filter that work in the comic book industry, and you're actively chasing off customers. You're absolutely chasing off customers. When, we've got Valiant cutting back to 1 book a month. Are you freaking kidding me? Oni Press, people getting laid off. Like, it's all doom and gloom until you go to crowdfunding. Until you look at, again, Eric July's book, over $3 million last I checked. In pre-orders, I know I'm actually friends with people who publish manga, and they're doing gangbusters. There's no excuse. So basically, it's not the customer, it's not the market, it's you. You are the problem. The content you're producing, the changes you're making to legacy characters that are chasing off your customers, the price gouging, the behavior on Twitter, it's all coming to a head. Because I guarantee you, people like David Zaslav are paying attention and looking at this, like, how come our comics aren't selling very well, but some rando with a YouTube channel can do over $3 million on an unproven character, a brand new IP? What's your excuse? What is your excuse? And there are a number of factors. It's all going to come to a head. Let's go out and look at this. I mean, again, this is one of the most inflammatory things I've seen, and I am, artistically, I like Eric Larson's work. I always have, and I always had a lot of, admiration for him that he, broke away from Marvel and formed Image. But his takes have been, they sound like a very depressed old man. He sounds like a very depressed old man. I mean, and you can not like Donald Trump and still not say shit like this, especially when you're supposed to be the face of Image Comics and you want to sell comics to everybody, unless you really don't want to sell comics to everybody. And a lot of pros have flat out said they don't want certain people buying their books. I'm like, that's great, but it's not sustainable. You can say we only want the quote unquote good people to buy our comics, but it's not sustainable. Both these publishers cater to the quote unquote good people, the right kinds of people, and they're both having massive, massive financial problems. I just think it's so telling that the mainstream is calling its own out now. Like, what the hell are we doing? It's like, guys, you weren't paying attention. 5 years, 6 years, maybe. that YouTubers have been documenting this. Other websites outside of the circle have been documenting this. And again, you don't have to agree with the politics of Comicsgate or whatever whatever group that kind of went indie and went out on their own. You don't have to, but it's to the point now where you can't ignore it anymore because it's on your doorstep. It is, because you guys are going to suffer. All of you normies working in the comic book industry, all 5 of you that are left, you're going to suffer tremendously because of people saying stupid shit like this. Word gets out pretty quick. Just think of all the books. Image could sell so many more books if they weren't, if their people weren't out there saying dumb shit all the time. IDW, look what happened to them. They had people out there saying dumb shit, and they paid for it. Their sales paid for it. Now, granted, they kind of Icarus themselves because they were chasing movie deals or whatever, but I guarantee you the G.I. Joe backlash hurt sales because right after the one author, and again, I'm not going to name check the author, you can Google it, that guy has apparently seen the light of day and he wants sales now, as I understand it. It was just an off-color remark. It was nothing. I mean, it wasn't even in the same ballpark as wishing for death on a former president publicly. It wasn't even in the same ballpark. It was some comments about 9/11. You can Google it. But you saw a definite drop in sales in G.I. Joe comics the following month or two. It does hurt sales. You can keep lying to yourselves and telling yourselves that it's not you, but it's absolutely you. It's the content, it's the creators, and things are absolutely going to change very, very soon because they have to. Either these comics are going to get outsourced because your corporate owners are tired of the shit, or these companies are going to get shut down and people aren't going to support you in crowdfunding because they think you're a dick. So, and the people you're pandering to, frankly, a lot of them don't have a lot of money because a lot of them seem to be socialists who are money averse. So good luck with that. But yeah, I don't know what else to say. This is the utter state of the comic book industry right now. This is why people are jumping ship to manga, to digital comics, to basically everything but monthly superhero floppies because they're tired of it. They're tired of all of it. It's over. It's done. These are the death throes. You have no way to blame but yourselves. The market is there. We're seeing it time and time again. The market is there. It's you. So I'm going to wrap this one up. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. We'll talk later.